Every year, video games get a little bigger. And I don't mean literal size, although most AAA entrees can suck up your storage space like it owns the deed to your hard drive. No, people want to get their money's worth. And a big part of that comes down to how much time you get to spend actually playing the game. And sometimes this is done exceptionally. Breath of the Wild has over 100 hours of unique content and single-handedly became the template for open-world exploration games. Other times, you'll get a series that adopts annoying mechanics and a hope to string the player along for as long as possible. I'm not even gonna put any footage here, I'm sure at least one title came to mind. But like finding a great show online and realizing it has 8 seasons under its belt, it can be a lot of fun to get wrapped up in something you love and have hundreds of hours to comb through, but let's be real here, it's exhausting. Personally, over the last few months, I went from Ghost of Tsushima to Skyrim to Arceus to most recently putting a cap on Elden Ring. And I recommend each of these titles, but you can only take in so much open world before you need a break. Sometimes it's nice to have a short experience, a quick single session game that knows it's little and uses that brief time to show you something new. So today, I've pulled together 3 games that follow this mantra to create a short journey that'll stick with you for a lifetime. I won't be spoiling any endings here because they're all indie titles, and if you like what you see, you should support them by giving it a try. And I know there's a lot of games in this category that I won't be talking about today, but if there's any you believe are absolutely worth playing, please leave a comment. I love learning about these little known groundbreakers. And outside of that, we start with our first game. Hoa is the Vietnamese word for flower. It can also be used in a more abstract way to mean peace. I don't think I've ever seen a title represent a game so simply, yet so accurately before. And simple really is the key word here. Developed by a small Vietnamese team, it clocks in at just under 2 hours to take you through what might be the most straightforward Metroidvania game I've ever played. Out of all the titles in this video, this one has the roughest edges. Occasional pop-in and frame rate dips are unfortunately common, and the translation can be strangely funny at times, but there's just so much about this game that's stuck with me. First off, it's downright gorgeous. There's this brilliant feeling of fluidity to everything. Unfurling platforms reached by friendly beetles to ascend massive trees. Come nightfall, you glide from hooked flowers in the search for glowing butterflies. This robot kicks you in the face. It's truly a sublime experience. And as you've probably picked up on, the distinct style this game brings is extremely reminiscent of another company. And you'd be totally right. Scrollcat has openly stated that Studio Ghibli was a major inspiration for this title. Although, inspiration may be a bit of an understatement. Some of the songs here are nearly note-for-note recreations of classic movie tracks. But even so, if you were going for a vibe, you'd be hard-pressed to pick a better one than this. More importantly, they completely nail it. That same uplifting feeling you get from Totoro or The Wind Rises shines throughout this game. Story-wise, its closest counterpart is Castle in the Sky, where nature and machinery are tied together in a forgotten slumber. You spend the majority of the game recollecting your memories from an old conflict by the guiding hand of these nature spirits. All of them refer to you as dear, and I love that. There are 8 chapters in this game, and each one is distinct and beautiful, each section asking you to travel in search of butterflies and these activation markers to conclude with a new ability that helps you with your traversal. Now, I know I said this is a Metroidvania, but it's all search and no action. I don't think you can actually get hurt in this game, but hey, I guess that's what they mean by peace. There's also no fat to the story whatsoever. I can't recall a single optional place you can go to. Everything is placed directly in the service of moving the story forward. But this game doesn't focus on interaction. It's built to be experienced, an immersion that carries you along a scenic adventure, not to be dug through, but to bask in as you float along simple puzzles and take everything in. I recommend this game to anyone that enjoys the simple and pleasant vibe. A game that you can knock out on a Sunday morning and have a great rest of your day. But for the people looking for a fleshier story, the next title might just do the trick. On paper, Donut County doesn't seem like it would add up to much. In a self-description, it's a cute game where you play as a hole in the ground. It clocks in at just under 2 hours, maybe 3 if you go for all the achievements, and it's one of the best games I have ever played. In gameplay, it's a lot like Katamari Damacy. You begin in a small, isolated stage where you can control an ineffectual object. By raking through the outskirts, you slowly gain mass and momentum to gradually become all-encompassing. The visual style also hits the same notes, a soft and simplistic 3D game that's bursting with color. Every character design is vibrant and fully realized with simple animations that give them just enough movement to feel more like a doll than an actual living thing. But from that, Donut County paves its own style. From the very beginning, you see the plot flourish with this detail in the cutscenes, either controlling a texting session or huddled together trying to piece together why everyone is trapped underground. I wouldn't say the dialogue is for everyone, but I personally really like the relaxed and quippy commentary. Every character directly shows their personality in their speech, and it all flows with the seamless tone of a tight-knit group of friends. Also, when you're texting, you can just send a duck emoji whenever you want, and this can lead to a conversation stalemate with ducks, and honestly, I just feel seen right now. It's also a really nice touch that each bit of dialogue has a synthetic tone tied to it, which leads your brain to make the sound match the words that they say. I mean, you can hear this, right? Imagine if Katamari was reinterpreted by someone who really likes indie music. Take those bombastic colors and slightly subdue them with the muted shades of California. String a story along like a lazy afternoon in a group chat. Make the music. Oh, the music! Every single level has a different track, and each song is constantly adapting to your actions. A warm analog sound that glitches with delay and modulation. They always begin quietly atmospheric and grow large and unavoidable, just like your hole. My favorite of these tracks is called Lazy River from the Riverbed stage. I love that it's all based around a single chord exchange that feels relaxed and hopeful. That slowly builds with a reverbed out guitar blending with vocalized percussion and even a glockenspiel. Every song is like this, and they all strike new and unique tones that perfectly capture the strange vibe this game seeks to offer you. It's a great example of a game that's small on purpose. Every single level is unique and memorable, with creative puzzles that flesh out a hole in the ground far more than anyone could realistically ask for. The introduction of each stage being a memory from a character makes these levels feel more than just pre-made obstacles. You get a glimpse into the way they live, and it's all done with environmental storytelling in either the background or the things you suck into the ground. They even include a Trashopedia where you can look at everything you've collected, each one with a clever description from the perspective of a raccoon. It all helps to characterize the raccoon company and its growing conflict you mostly spend your time working for. Their motto is "Hurl me into a dumpster." There's no way I couldn't love this game. I recommend this game to literally everyone. You often see it go on sale for like $3, which in my opinion is an absolute steal. It's a game I come back to when I want to groove through a short and quality experience that somehow always impresses me with something new. Hey, would you look at that? Short is literally in the title. Where Donut County is unrelentingly happy and carefree, a short hike is the gaming equivalent to sweatpants, where the narrative hangs loose and you're constantly surrounded by this warm and fuzzy feeling. Technically, this is the shortest game on the list. You can get to the credits in less than an hour, and if you know what you're doing, I'm sure you can cut that closer to 20 minutes, but you would be doing a huge disservice to yourself if you did. See, I've always been keen on slowly sliding through calmer experiences, and this is one of the best games I've ever wandered through. It's a combination of contradictions, an interesting, expansive landscape divided across tiny islands. Your own curiosity takes you to new and strange areas through the guiding hands of familiar friends. It's a walking game that you fly through. It's also pretty good. Visually, this game revels in the low-poly adventure aesthetic, so much so that you can choose the pixel size that works best for you. There's something so cathartic in taking the common approach of trying to reach the highest resolution with the smoothest frame rate and consciously decide that, nah, medium rare pixels please. It all feeds back into that motive of enjoying the journey instead of reaching your destination. The semi-isometric camera puts you in the center of the actual focus of the game, which is the vivid and constantly changing landscape. Not to mention all of its coins, chests, marked digging spots, unmarked digging spots, random lost items, and rubber plants dotted throughout the map. It all feeds into an experience that you can't help but enjoy unraveling. What makes this traversal feel so beautifully connected is the people you meet along the way. Everyone has their own agenda and you only get a sliver of their life as it overlaps with yours. Imagine Animal Crossing if they were all cast in an indie film. My favorite character is Tim, as they take a pretty simple tutorial on how to rock climb and paint it with a climbing association that they desperately need to legitimize, even though there's only 2 members around. This culminates with the first real bit of climbing where you'll realize that Tim is also pretty new to scrambling, and it's genuinely funny in the same way that it humanizes these 2 people. Everyone is just like you, just enjoying their time at a nature preserve. These people also make a memorable beginning to one of the key elements this game has, the golden feathers and how to use them. Off the bat, you can jump and you can glide. We've all seen birds, we can get behind this. As you explore, you find these feathers that add critical stamina regeneration. You can now jump in the air and conquer sheer cliffs. The only caveat is you can't regenerate these feathers until you land on the ground. It's amazing how much freedom this mechanic adds to the game. You begin to mentally calculate what you'll be able to overcome based on how many feathers you have left. And every time you find a new one, you get a direct sense of growth to your ability. You would think this freedom to maneuver would make the game a breeze to finish, but once you reach the snowy half of the mountain, they pull this crazy twist. That energy you just burned? It ain't coming back. Your feathers freeze from the barren climate and all that regeneration has quietly left you. The only way you can regain these critical collectibles is by spending time at a bonfire or a hot spring. It acts as your last skill check before you can reach the summit and adds a level of challenge and resourcefulness that is honestly astounding. If you wanted to hear more about this from a guy that is infinitely better with words than your boy, I highly recommend Jacob Geller's video Fear of Cold, where he dives into both this game and the general aspects of how the cold interacts with us in our silly human lives. Really, really astonishing work. And while I'm out here kicking around videos I love, I also recommend Scruffy's video, Musical Maps in a Short Hike, which covers the soundtrack to the game in tandem with the literal composer, Mark Sparling. I mean, I love this soundtrack, you can hear it in the background, but I can't top that. I will say that there's a beautiful life this OST brings to each corner of the map. The evolving tones pair beautifully with the atmosphere, and Mark has directly said that he was inspired by Animal Crossing and Sufjan Stevens' album Carrie and Lowell, which, I mean, Jesus, what a beautiful combination of sources to draw from. The latter of which pairs harmoniously with the background story this game tells. See, you don't start on the island. Your very first interaction is based in a car ride where you share a conversation with your dad. All you know is that your name is Claire, and you're coming to the island to spend the summer in an effort to get away from the rush of city life and everything else going on. Keen observers in the audience will note this loaded comment in the foreshadowing folder. You immediately begin the next day, walking from your cabin to meet May, a park ranger, and also your aunt, in that order. They steer you in the direction of climbing Hawk Peak, and just like that, you're left to your own devices. The entirety of the story now lies in your ability to find it, either through speaking with other people, or more interestingly, how Claire responds when speaking. These little interactions add so much depth to the overall experience and grow stronger as you become more familiar with both the people and the island itself. This is a vibe for all those looking for the vulnerable feelings we all share in some way. For those of us willing to battle the odds before us, all lovingly crafted in a world free of danger and designed to be an external exploration that often becomes profoundly internal. I'm not going to show you the summit, nor will I talk about the final beats of this game's story, but I can say without a shadow of doubt that if anything I've said has interested you so far, the conclusion is an absolute victory in this masterpiece of a game. There are a lot of things I would have loved to touch on. Small games I didn't get to, elements of these 3 games I didn't fully flesh out. In reality, I could go on about these types of experiences for hours, but ultimately that would undermine my point here. While we wander the infinite sea of self-expression in the digital age, it can be way too easy to miss great works of gameplay when they don't set the internet on fire. But there is one quick solution to correct this mistake, and that lies with you. If anything in this video jumps out to you as interesting or something you might enjoy, I can only ask that you open yourself up to acting on those thoughts. Support an indie dev, jump into a new game without previous recommendation, find those little moments that shine in a cave of mundanity. I can't promise they'll all be worthwhile, but it's the most direct way we have in fueling a new, brilliant economy of ideas. And hey, if you do find something beautiful, you should tell me, tell a friend, tell anyone you can about the unique, the bizarre, the things that resonate deeply with the person you are at a fundamental level. Maybe then we can all share these little games in a way that connects us all. That sounds like the greatest vibe ever. As always, I want to give my big shoutouts to the Patreon supporters, Happy, T Goldie, and Turbo Drowsy. Your support means the absolute world to me. And hey, if you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you too. Granted, I do understand that for a lot of you, you were hoping to see 3 different games, but rest assured, I'm working on it. If you like this style of video, please let me know. Shoot me some suggestions for other games I can go into. It's really nice to be able to compile a couple of games that have a through line to them where I can just tap into that and speak about it for a little bit. Outside of that, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great day.